Penn State may have just found the next Tyler Warren.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to Penn State football recruiting. And as always, thank you so much for checking out another edition of Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily source for all things Penn State sports. My name is Seyko, and I am your host of the show, credentialed media member for both Penn State football and Penn State wrestling. Thank you to the everydayers out there for making us a part of your regular routine. If you're not one, become one. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. We're talking about the latest recruit to commit to Penn State's class of 2026, Pierce Peterson, four-star athlete, but he's going to be a tight end at Penn State. We're going to talk about why he fits into the mold of potentially being the next Tyler Warren. So we're going to talk about Pierce Peterson, what he's bringing to Happy Valley, and also this roller coaster of a cycle for Penn State as it just keeps going up and down. They gain a prospect, they lose another target. We're going to talk about that as well in the show. Let's begin with Peterson. 6'5", 200 pounds, freakish athlete. He truly is a freak athlete. And why I compare him to Tyler Warren is because of two things. One, the freakish athleticism, but Penn State this is the second part of this. Penn State is rolling out the Tyler Warren blueprint. Peterson does not play tight end right now. Tyler Warren, at the same part of his high school career where he was playing quarterback. Peterson from the state of Minnesota, talking about that as well, as Penn State had to go into Minnesota where he was going to end up a Golden Gopher, and Penn State went in there and took one of the best prospects out of the state of Minnesota. So that's a massive win there. But it's the potential that he brings. So he's currently playing quarterback for his high school. He also plays free safety. This guy is 6'5", 200 pounds. As QB1 and free safety 1, hasn't played a snap of tight end, and Penn State is taking him as a tight end prospect in this class purely because of the athleticism. Now, why would Penn State take a chance on somebody that doesn't play tight end routinely, is going to focus, does not have a focus on it at this point in time? Because of that athleticism. And when you watch him play a little bit of free safety, you can see why Minnesota was recruiting him as a linebacker. That was the battle. It was Penn State's pitch to be a tight end or Minnesota's pitch to be a linebacker. Well, at 6'5", playing free safety, it is a little unorthodox. However, you can see the ball skills. You can see the playmaking ability. What stood out to me watching him play defense was his ability to go up and high point the football. Just being able to, and reading the eyes of the quarterback. So he's not necessarily, he's going to need some of those elements playing at Penn State, being a tight end. But that's what's impressive, is that he's able to sky above the crowd of players going after a jump ball and comes down with it, and the ability to move in open space. At 6'5", 200 pounds. He was listed, he runs, I think, an 11.5 second 100-meter dash. Freakish does not even begin to describe what Pierce Peterson is as a player. He's averaging almost 30 points a game in basketball. Quarterback, free safety, and he plays like he's a wide receiver, almost to an extent, with the way that he's able to move on the football field, make plays on defense as a free safety, forcing turnovers. For what it's worth, he's not afraid to lay a hit either. He's not afraid of contact. I think he's looking forward to contact. So the change from quarterback to tight end makes perfect sense. And it's exactly what Penn State did with Tyler Warren. They saw a player that had nothing but raw potential. He's a good passer. I think Peterson actually is very respectable as a passer, being quarterback right now in high school. But certainly you can see that there is a skill set. There is an untapped skill set that he could have as a tight end. Like I said, I think he's very comparable to just being a very big-bodied wide receiver. He's 6'5", 200 pounds currently. And it's that ability to be able to move in space, that athleticism that is very similar to Tyler Warren. So it's not only the trajectory of it. Is he going to be exactly like Tyler Warren? Well, in theory, with what he's able to do, being able to pass the football, he's a righty, he's not a lefty. Remember, Tyler Warren's a lefty quarterback in those Wildcat packages, but he does have the ability to throw the football. He is very good at maneuvering space. I really enjoyed just watching him see the football field, the vision that he has. It's all of those individual skills that combine together to make him a very intriguing prospect, and why it is easy to compare him to Tyler Warren. I know those are lofty expectations to say that, oh, this guy is a future 1,000-yard receiver. That's not what I'm saying, but he can do things that are very similar to what Tyler Warren was able to do in his final season, and that's easy to say when you watch his high school film. So as long as he develops properly, he can be a very, very good player for Penn State and somebody that is just going to be a factor in the passing game. So yeah, he'll be listed as tight end, but you could line him out wide. You could put him in the slot. And it's the mismatch of size and athleticism and speed and acceleration that somebody that is 6'5", he should not be able to move the way that he does. And Penn State was able to go into Minnesota and get him. All signs pointed that he was going to be a Golden Gopher, but that's where Ty Howell and James Franklin, and with how crowded Penn State's tight end room is, to be able to pull off this recruitment where they found Peterson as a player that was being extremely overlooked and got into this recruitment, I don't want to say fairly late, but certainly behind the time that Minnesota did, having that home field advantage since he is from the state. And Penn State went into that territory and came out with a very intriguing prospect, to say the least. I really enjoyed watching his high school film. The passes that he was making, how he was just able to ad-lib if a play broke down and he was just able to run. His 40 time is a 4.5, no slower than a 4.6. Again, somebody that is 6'5", 200 pounds should not be able to move as well as he does. He's basketball star, averaging almost 30 points per game. And the ability to play free safety as someone who's 6'5". So a necessary win, a massive win with where Penn State stood in overall with its recruiting. It was certainly quite the losing streak there, but you pick up a win. And Pierce Petersohn is now the 21st commitment in this class of 2026. Tight end room's crowded, but Penn State was able to secure this commitment here. A lot to like about this prospect. Now, let's talk about the ebbs and flows of recruiting. How one moment, Penn State can be on fire, and then the next moment, they can be ice cold. After losing 4 prospects to Notre Dame, and another school might jump in and take 3 of its primary targets. We're going to talk more about where Penn State stands with its recruiting and why it's another hot streak coming, but also some more losses along the way. That's coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, spending, all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And with Monarch Money, it helps me because I want to be able to build up my savings. And Monarch Money allows me to track different investments, different purchases, subscriptions, and be able to lay it all out for me. So just so I know where my money is going and what I am able and what I need to do with it in order to grow my savings. So you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for, get this, 50% off your first year. That's right, 50% off your first year. MonarchMoney.com, code LockedOnCollege for half off your first year. And this episode is also brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under the tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. And effects can last up to 36 hours. So you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might just be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That is Rugiet, Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege, and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. Let me finish the bit on Peterson with the fact that he will have to redshirt. He will have to add, he's currently 200 pounds. He will have to add 40, potentially 50 pounds in order to play at Penn State. So this is a really long-term outlook that Penn State was able to sell him on, that this is more than just a 2-3 year plan. Peterson goes through the redshirt season, is probably going to be on the lower part of the depth chart for some time before he actually sees the football field. But I still think that's sooner rather than later, again, as long as he stays healthy, stays on the developmental track. He enrolls early, starts adding that weight, gets to 225, 230 pounds right out of the gate, which is really doable, as we've seen with Penn State's nutrition, that in due time, that redshirt sophomore season is where we could see him break out. And I know that's a ways away, but that's just the realistic outlook here if we want to see him reach his maximum potential. Okay, back to the class of 2026, because this had top 5 potential. Penn State secured a ton of commitments early, headline prospects. You have Kevin Brown, you have Messiah Mickens. You get 2 quarterbacks in this cycle, guys that you know are going to move up the recruiting rankings. For example, a Terry Wiggins or a Jasir Rogers are not going to be ranked the way they are at the end of this one. They will see an increase in their star rating. But then you have this recent stretch, and everybody loves recency bias, right? Notre Dame takes not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 mutual targets, wins all of them. Whatever the reason is, whether that's NIL related or if that has something to do with the fact that, hey, Notre Dame was just a little more appealing this time around. The prospect just fits better at Notre Dame. Joey O'Brien, I think, for example, that culturally probably felt better at Notre Dame than it did Penn State. That's what I heard from various people. So each recruitment is different, but you see Penn State, it's not like losing 4 prospects to a variety of different schools in the SEC or in the ACC or the Big 12. You're going to see Penn State. Oh, that's understandable. You know, Georgia or Texas. Okay, that one makes a little sense here. But it was Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame. You also lose Luke Wafel to USC. And that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. But now the pendulum swings back, and you see Pierce Petersohn. It's just nice to see a basket go through. Somewhat of a pun intended, since Peterson's a basketball star right now in high school. Yeah, Peterson commit to Penn State. Okay, that's another prospect, 21st prospect, and somebody with a very high ceiling. And then Penn State's projected to land 2 more defensive prospects, defensive linemen. So intel says that Penn State is finally going to catch up on the defensive line and land not 1, but 2 primary targets at defensive end in Tyson Harley, 4-star prospect, Gonzaga High School, DC area, which maybe that plays a little bit into it. Emmanuel Iannacho's recruitment. That's a teammate of his. That's a friend of his. Maybe that helps out Penn State's case, okay? But still, isolated from that, that's a 4-star defensive end. And then this one I think is huge, at least right now. Again, you need to see these commitments actually happen, but it's nice to have a little bit of optimism here with some recent projections by On3. Jackson Ford is also expected to commit. That's a big deal because he's in the state of Pennsylvania. He's a top 10 prospect in the state. I think he's underrated. I think his rating's only going to go up. He was projected to go to Ohio State, or at least Intel said that, hey, Ohio State's pushing for him, and it's most likely going to be the Buckeyes here, but no one had put in a prediction necessarily. And now there are predictions for Peterson, which we saw happen, commitment, Harley, and Ford. And then there's just some intel that, hey, Penn State's still in the mix for other defensive tackle prospects that we're looking elsewhere. Okay, so the pendulum swung back in the favor of Penn State. And then it seems like it's going to go away again. Let me talk about the losses here. This is the roller coaster aspect of it. Marky Walbridge was somebody that was circled as a good replacement for Grayson McHugh, offensive tackle out of the state of Pennsylvania that had left and gone to Notre Dame. He was part of that for prospect haul for the Fighting Irish. Then Penn State, okay, they're going to pivot to Walbridge, right? Well, he's committed to Michigan. Speaking of Michigan, I think Michigan's now replacing the role of Notre Dame. Dorian Barney, top defensive back prospect, one that Penn State would absolutely love to have committed in this class, is projected to the Wolverines as well. It's another wide receiver prospect that they mutually had that is projected to Michigan. Okay, so this is why it's so much of a roller coaster, because Penn State one moment will go on a hot streak, get 3-4 commitments in a pretty quick span. But it's losing. It's the volume of prospects to go to one destination. These mutual targets that all end up at Notre Dame, all end up at Michigan. That's what stings. Okay, one goes to South Carolina, one goes to Georgia. No, it's nothing like that. It's all of them going to Notre Dame, Michigan, and region, and staying within the region, staying within the conference. You have to potentially face these prospects, these players. Notre Dame, well, Notre Dame's not in the conference, but that's why I prefaced regionally. They could see them in the playoff down the road. And if Notre Dame would join a conference already and be in the Big Ten, yeah, then it would really hurt. So Penn State recruiting has certainly been all over the place. This is still a good class. I expect this class to be top 15. So top 5, top 10, those were lofty aspirations. They did need to see all of those elite prospects join Penn State. So since that did not happen, that top 5, top 10 potential is gone. But they can easily be top 15. They should be top 15. I don't see them falling out. They're definitely not going to go past. I don't think they go past 15. I think 15 is the bottom. And if they get some prospects late in the cycle, you could see them get close to maybe 12 or 11. But they're not going to be barely in the top 20 or outside of the top 20. Don't think about that. So Penn State, what goes around comes around, as the saying goes, and they've certainly responded, but they're also taking some losses on the side as well. So yes, there are the wins. They're back in the W column. They're also still taking some L's here as well. So you win some, you lose some, as they say. That's where everything stands with Penn State football recruiting, and that's where we will wrap up the show here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Again, thank you so much for checking out another edition. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Thank you to the everydayers out there for making us a part of your regular routine. And for more conversations around your favorite Penn State sports teams, keep it right here on Locked On Nittany Lions.